So since these bearings right here are all completely seized up, I'm going to take off this whole shooting match, take off those bearings, and sit them in a bottle of hopefully either some type of penetrating oil, or if I have it, some of the anti-rust that I bought probably about 2 years ago. Hopefully we'll get sponsored by them soon enough, but probably not. This is what I'm going to set those bearings in. So this is the point I'm at with the bandsaw currently. I've got this whole outer gauge wheel taken apart, and I've also loosened up this block right here, which, if you can't tell, is actually what runs in between that groove right there and moves in and out on your main jaws. So right here, this is all freed up. This would be your main control lever that moves a cam inside of here. And as that raises and lowers, that's what actually causes it to engage and disengage with the threads that are built in. So we take this apart a little bit. We've got 2 springs. Then we've got our main block. And then we've got our cam. And as that rotates, that's engaging our block of threads. Well, at this point, I've got it pretty much as stripped down as far as over here as I want to. Can't get this handle off, but I think I can work around that for the time being. I'm going to take this angle grinder with a wire wheel on the end of it and try and strip all the paint and residue off of it. Maybe get it looking a little bit better, and then I can work on gearbox and maybe taking this upper half of the bandsaw out. But right for now, I'm just going to work on that and see if I can't at least paint the legs or do something beneficial like that, see how much paint I'm really going to need. Well, as you can see, I've decapitated the bandsaw. Took out all these bolts and locating pins and slid it off of these. And getting down to the paint in these areas, seeing that's been repainted a lot. And hopefully this will be the final paint job that'll last the longest and keep it up, hopefully. But yeah, I think that was the original primer coat. Faint red color. And then you can see all the milling marks from them taking this thing's surface down to spec. So right now I'm just going to go through and clean everything up about like that. See, I stopped there. I stopped here. Then paint all this, go over there, clean up the outside of that, clean up all the parts. And then hopefully I'll get this thing at least halfway decent by the end of the day. So here we have the first coat. I'm actually not using anything really special. Using Duplicolor engine enamel. This is Detroit Diesel Blue. And the only reason I'm using that is it was cheap. And I hope that it has some resistive properties that means I can't scuff it easy. That pin, I've got it coated in grease, so it looks like it's been painted, but it has not. And I've covered up both the oil caps on that end, and I need to take off that main wheel as well as go underneath it and get all that painted. But I'm trying to do this cheap and efficiently because I got a lot of coming in. Especially the dump truck, hopefully. But hopefully we can move on to that, because I got a great paint job and a scheme planned out for that, and try to replicate some of the older models. Well, I just got the head back on. Frame's all painted up. I've left a few marks, so I guess I got to put some nickels in the scratch bucket. But so far, need to paint that. And I got a few other things. That gauge wheel is a little bit painted up. It's not very good, but it's better than nothing. And so far, I'm enjoying it. I think it looks pretty decent. As you can see, I haven't painted the worm gear case or that below it because I still need to take off the worm gear case because there's some leaks to it. But avoiding that, I think, is going to be for the best. Regardless, though, this is how it sits. Another late night. And I'm probably gonna go home and have some dinner finally. Here's how she sits for right now. So you can see, got the head on, got the gauge wheels in, got the main I-beam painted. That's all oil on top of here. Trying to lubricate the vise, make sure it doesn't rust. And I've got the new band in. So as I rotate this, slowly but surely, both wheels rotate. So I'm just gonna work on getting the final touches with the motor straightened up, put the pulley on that, and then I'll finally be able to start it up. Well, she's officially back to life. I had to take off the tensioner because this thing doesn't want to move, right now at least, under its own power while it's fully tensioned on the belt. But as soon as you let off a little bit of slack, she rolls through and pretty well works like a charm. I'm gonna get a couple pieces of metal, round bar that I'm gonna weld onto some hammers, so that way I don't have to worry about putting on a wood handle to some of these larger sledgehammers, and see if it cuts through that. So I'm repurposing this shaft, most likely off of some type of spreader. So you can see it's pretty well bent. I've got it laying flat on top of the actual jaws of the bandsaw. And I'll kind of do a little bit of a demonstration of what I got to do to get it moving, and then see how well it cut. So I'm a bit cautious, so wearing welding gloves, power on. Let it spin to life. And now, just letting it cut at its own pace. I got a little bit of oil here. Need to put some tape on all the surfaces up here so that way it doesn't rattle as much. And I'm over lubricating, I know that. I want to make sure I'm not stressing this thing out. Things be cutting pretty straight.
That thing was solid. Yeah. I thought it was a pipe.
No, it's not a pipe.
It's a rod.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Here I've got it rigged up once again, and that is not the piece that I'm going to use. I'm going to be cutting actually right in the bent section, so I have a little bit of straight, so I can put it on a 6-pound sledgehammer head, I think. But I flipped around the blade, so that way the teeth are actually coming in and going towards the material. I wasn't realizing it, but along the way I forgot to actually flip the blade over. It's one long piece, so all you have to do is take it and just bend it inside out and turn everything over. And now I've got the teeth pointing the right direction, and hopefully yeah, that cuts way faster. That's almost scary. Jesus. Yeah, she's a little machine now. 10, 12 seconds till we through it all the way. Jesus! Well, if you can't tell, I think I've successfully built, or revived at least, a death machine, because this is solid. That's a hardened shaft. I think it's off of some type of wood chipper or machine similar. It's got space for a keyway on both ends, and has been sitting out there and was just about bent at a slightly below 20-degree angle. So no way to use it again without straightening it. I don't have the equipment for that, so I'm going to turn it into a couple handles and probably use a little bit of it because I'm still on the track to make caster wheels for this. I've got my main wheel right here. My plan is to have a little bit of a spacer and have it kind of welded onto a piece that slides into the cross member right down there and then tilts over with this, making it prop up. And then using the square bar I've got left over from making new pieces for that dump bed, do something similar and have that on this side with these two casters, have them angled about like that, so whenever it's flopped down like this, you press down on one single piece of metal and jams them up, and that way it's mobile, and then I can let down again and hopefully have it remove a lot of the impact or vibration. Well, here she sits. I'm going to move it pretty quickly after I get done recording this over to its semi-final resting place. I'm going to use these materials, like I said before, and create casters for it. I'll probably have a video over that soon enough, but this has been a pretty major undertaking for me. Not as much physically as more emotionally, as I've tried to do as much as I could to do this correctly as possible, because it was the last thing my grandfather really couldn't get to before he passed away. He had this thing sitting out behind the shop, probably 20, 30, 40 years, and for me to have access to work on it and to have it up and running again, I think he'd be very pleased, and that makes me feel a lot better about it. But I wanted to do him good. I wanted to make him proud and make you guys proud as well, because I think the transformation for this, I've had a couple people that have actually looked at it, like my grandmother and my father, and they've been pretty amazed, which I'm very happy to report that, because I've put probably 40 hours of work into this. And I apologize for the video not being really about the work that really went into it or much educational aspects of it, because I've been in a crunch for time, and I'm still 2 days late on this video. So I hope to get back into the running with about every 6 or 7 days having a new video. I've got a lot of stuff to do in the shop, a lot of projects, and once this thing moves over next to the lathe, I'll probably get to work on a lot of fabrication and a lot of machining projects I've got. I'm making a new tool holster for the lathe out of an old cutting edge off of a 580 John Deere dozer that my father had as one of the last pieces of equipment that he bought on his own, and sold that thing off, but kept the old cutting edge, which is completely wore out. And then I've got some fabrication jobs that I'm kind of recording over the dump bed. I've got the hangers right now in the works. I've got them set up in the drill press to get the holes centered in those, so that way I can actually have a hanger that can hold much more steadily and hopefully be more robust than the old ones, the tailgate onto the dump bed, so that way whenever it swings and comes back closed, I don't have to worry about it bending, because the old ones are sitting over there and they look like a banana at this point. As well as making new pins for it in the lathe and needing to clean up in here, because this is a mess. I don't like it the way this is. I don't like the way I've got everything set up behind the camera, and I'm hiding a lot of the spots that really get me a little bit anxious, because I need to start working more and more on getting this place fit and ready. Currently, I'm juggling summer classes, and I'm going into college in about 2 months, so I'm hoping to keep the schedule up about that same speed once I go into college. We'll just have to see, though. My major is not an easy one. It's pretty much engineering, applied engineering, and so I'm hitting the books right now with my summer courses, also looking for a job. I'm trying to get my own business up and started with all this stuff and record stuff for you guys, but I still need income. And I quit my job at a John Deere dealer a while ago to go into more serious pursuits, and because I was getting overwhelmed with school and work and night classes and having so many 16, 17-hour work days and then coming home and still wanting to do things in here, it took the life out of me and made me realize I never want to have a job that I despise. I've realized that really early on. I realized that when I was 17. I'm 18 years old now. And I don't ever want to have a job where I have to go in there and I hate being there. It is the absolute worst feeling on the planet, and especially the exhaustion that you get from doing, let's say, 8 hours of school and 8 hours of actually working a job, and the driving, the traveling, and then having stuff like this that I care a ton about everything in here. I mean, it is my life and my blood, and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life is working here. So I'm going to try it with everything that I have to make sure that I can develop a small business, and hopefully after I get out of college, start farming my family's property out behind me and make a living doing what I love. And this is one of those things. I love making videos. I love helping you guys along your own path, showing stuff off that I would have done anyways, but instead of keeping in the dark and keeping this kind of locked up for no prying eyes to see, I want to help others to realize how much you can do with just a little bit of money and a lot of time. Because, like I said, 40 hours of work. It doesn't seem like it, but I went through everything. I tried to do as much as possible. And even though it doesn't function perfectly, and it's not great, and I've still got a long way to go before it's to a point that I'm really proud of, like putting on some decaling, stylus, redoing a few of the different mounting plates and brackets, and redoing the solenoid for the motor so that way it starts up on its own. It's the switch, it's broken off again inside of there, but it's a simple fix. I just have to get around to it. But this is where my heart is. And I'm just thankful beyond measure for you guys. Seeing that subscriber count go up for the first time in Lord knows how long really made me realize how much I care about doing this and care about showing stuff off to people. And it sounds much more wrong when I say that, but I want to support you guys. But to give you something that you can build off of and see, you can do anything. I truly believe that. I've been the byproduct of that. I didn't come from a lot, and all this stuff I've worked my tail off for. I mean, I've paid for everything. All the paint that goes on this, all the metal, all the scraps, my plasma cutter, rebuilding the welder, the lathe, everything I've done, I've paid for. And I'm paying for college too. But what I've come from has made me who I am. I'm very thankful for my parents, even though I know sometimes they didn't do everything right. That's all right. That's okay. Because I still believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that who I am today is based off of what I do. It doesn't matter where I come from, where I'm going, anything like that. As long as I can stick with it, I know I will be the person that I want to be and have the business that I want to have. And I just want to really hammer that home for all of you guys, because I don't care if you're 12 years old or 72 or anything in between. Whatever you want to do, as long as you put effort towards it, you can do it. Because 2 years ago, probably never even had an interest or never even understood, why I would ever want to work on a bandsaw like this, or a tractor, or a combine, or anything in between. But I care about it, and it means more to me now than it ever will, I think. So, again, I just can't thank you guys enough, and stick around with me, because I got a lot more projects coming up for you. I know I'm sounding pretty sappy right now, but I guarantee you, if you stick around and you look at what I'm doing, I will have much more educational content. So, thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. It means the world to me, and I guarantee you won't regret it. So, please take care of yourselves, and if you're watching right now, thank you, because you have made all the difference in my life. Catch you in the next video.